Am I the a-hole for cutting off my daughter after she slept with her sister's husband? I 59-year-old female have two daughters, Emma 35-year-old female and Chloe 33-year-old female. Emma has been married to her husband 36-year-old male for 11 years, and they have two children together. Chloe has been married to her husband 34-year-old male for 8 years, and they have one 5-year-old son. About 6 weeks ago, Emma called me just after midnight, completely hysterical. She told me she'd suspected for months that her husband was hiding something. He'd become distant, constantly guarded his phone, and was always finding excuses to stay late at work. That night, after he fell asleep beside her, she looked through his phone for the first time. She found years of explicit messages between him and Chloe. The affair had been going on for almost 4 years. Emma was devastated. She kept asking me how her own sister could do this to her. A few days later, we were at my brother's birthday party when Emma confronted Chloe outside. Chloe denied everything at first and insisted Emma had misunderstood. When Emma said she'd read the messages herself, Chloe completely fell apart. She started crying, admitted the affair, and kept repeating, "I don't know why I did it. I'm so sorry. It was the biggest mistake of my life." Emma asked how 4 years could possibly be a mistake. Chloe had no answer. The argument escalated into a screaming match. Chloe tried to slap Emma, but several relatives stepped in before she could. Chloe's husband quietly took their son home after realizing what had happened. Within days, he told Chloe he wanted a divorce. Emma also filed for divorce after her husband admitted everything. After it all came out, Chloe called me 82 times in one day. I answered once because I hoped she was calling to explain herself. Instead, she cried the entire time, begging me not to abandon her. She said she'd already lost her husband, was probably going to lose shared custody of her son, and couldn't bear losing her mother too. She said she knew she didn't deserve forgiveness, but begged me not to hate her forever. I told her I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. I said this wasn't one bad decision. It was years of lying to her sister, her husband, and the rest of us. I told her I loved her because she's my daughter, but I didn't want contact with her for the foreseeable future. Since then, I've ignored every attempt she's made to reach out. This is where my family thinks I'm wrong. My sisters say Chloe has already lost everything. Her marriage, her relationship with her sister, many of her friends, and likely the family she dreamed of giving her son. They say she's genuinely remorseful, has started individual therapy, and isn't trying to justify what she did. They argue that if a mother won't stand by her child after they've hit rock bottom, who will? They also remind me that cutting Chloe off means my grandson is growing up without his grandmother, even though he's done nothing wrong. I understand all of that, but every time I think about welcoming Chloe back into my life, I picture Emma reading those messages alone in the middle of the night, realizing that two of the people she trusted most had been lying to her for years. I don't know if I can move past that. My family says I'm punishing Chloe forever for something she already deeply regrets. I feel like I'm simply refusing to pretend it never happened. Am I the a-hole? I know a lot of people are used to seeing cheating posts and always thinking they are fake, but what would you do if you were in my shoes? Commenter 1, not the a-hole. She's not genuinely remorseful. She's sad she got caught and is facing consequences. Can't you have a relationship with your grandson via his father? Tell your sisters to mind their own business. This is between you and your daughters, nothing to do with them. The original poster. I can kind of have a relationship with him, but the problem is that he wants his child to grow up closer to his own family who lives in another city rather than his ex-wife's family. Commenter 2. I personally can't think of anything my kid would do that would cause me to cut her off permanently, but I would probably take a break for a while to organize my feelings. There is 10,000% nothing that could happen that would make me willing to cut off my grandkid. What Chloe did was unforgivable, but I would ask you, how would you feel if something happened to Chloe right now? How would you feel? If you don't feel anything, then you have your answer about what you want to do. The original poster. It depends on what happens to her. If she is struggling with her mental health or got into an accident, I would obviously help her like a mother would. I admit I might have been harsh when I told her for the foreseeable future, but I was thinking of my daughter Emma and how she would be feeling right now. I love both my daughters equally from the moon and back, but I am just torn in this decision. Commenter 3, not the a-hole. You have a daughter that has been completely destroyed by her own sister and her own husband. She's the one that needs your support, not the one that chose to cheat on her husband with her own sister's husband. She made the conscious decision for 4 years. That's not forgivable in my eyes. She made the decision. She can face her own consequences. I'm sure her soon-to-be ex-husband will still allow you to be part of your grandson's life. Reach out to him and let him know you are not speaking to her. And just be there for Emma and her kids. The original poster. Thank you so much. I have reached to him, but haven't heard anything back yet. The original poster responds to a long comment on if it is possible for Chloe to lose full custody of her son because she cheated. The original poster, she might not. Her ex-husband wants to move far away from all of this. He wants to move to his own side of the family, which lives in a different city. It would be hard for Chloe to be there for her son unless she moves with him or gets an apartment there, which I don't think she would unless she really wants to see her son. Commenter 4. So she would rather lose her son than move to be near him? There is nothing on this earth that would have prevented me from fighting tooth and nail to keep my kids. How far away is his family? She can absolutely file an emergency stay order to keep the kids locally until custody is settled, and wronged by her or not. Most courts will put the children's needs first. Courts tend to prioritize joint custody regardless of what dad or mom thinks, unless one parent is willing to sign rights away. She needs a lawyer ASAP. If she is willing to walk away from her son without a fight, then he is better off without her. And that tells me a little bit more of her character, and it makes me even less sympathetic to her than I already was. The original poster, we are in Florida and his family is in Washington. Commenter 5, not the a-hole. Chloe is only regretful BC she's been caught. It's not like it was a one-time thing for even a couple months, it was 4 years. That requires active decision-making to not only continue the affair, but to hide it from her husband and her family. I think space right now is definitely needed. Try to find a way to stay in contact with your grandson's father. And I personally believe if you cut out Chloe that it may make things easier for your ex-son-in-law to trust and allow you to visit if he gets sole custody. She is an adult and has to live with her choices. I wouldn't be able to speak with my sibling if they did this to me. I think as a parent you love your child no matter what, and you still can, but I don't think you're the a-hole to cut contact with Chloe. Whether it is permanent or not is up to you. Chloe made this choice, and these are the consequences. She lost everything because her and Emma's husband destroyed each other's lives and marriages. That's the worst thing you can do to a sibling. Commenter 6, not the a-hole. This wasn't a mistake. This was a calculated and prolonged affair with a man her own sister loved and married. That's not to mention the betrayal to the man she herself married, which is a second level of despicable. Chloe isn't genuinely remorseful. She's genuinely wishing she hadn't obliterated her entire support circle in one fell swoop. She's crying that she has to face consequences. She would have kept it going for who knows how long if this had never come out. That she denied it at first is all you need to know she doesn't feel a shred of remorse. She just doesn't want to lose you along with everyone else in her life. Whether she does is entirely up to you. I personally could never look at my child the same way if they felt so utterly callous about betraying the two people she's supposed to love most in the world. Update 1. Am I the a-hole for cutting my daughter out of my life after she had an affair with her sister's husband? I know it's very early for me to post an update, and I wasn't planning on it, but after reading the comments on my first post, I decided I needed one final conversation with Chloe before I completely closed the door. I went to her house yesterday, and I expected her to be emotional after calling me 82 times in one day, but she was surprisingly calm. I asked her the one question I still couldn't understand. Why? She admitted she'd been attracted to Emma's husband for years. She said what started as admiration eventually became feelings, and over time they crossed a line. Instead of ending it, they kept convincing themselves it would be the last time. She insisted she regretted everything. I asked if she'd spoken to Emma. She told me the only contact she'd had was one text before Emma blocked her on everything. Emma told her she'd destroyed their family, taken away her children's stable home, and that she hoped the affair had been worth losing a sister forever because, as far as she was concerned, Chloe no longer had one. Emma blocked her immediately afterward. Chloe also admitted she later waited outside the school gates hoping to speak to Emma when she came to collect the kids. Emma refused to speak to her, warned her to stay away from her and the children, and told her that if she ever approached them again, she'd regret it. Chloe left crying. I told Chloe her waiting outside the school was completely inappropriate, regardless of her intentions. She insisted she only wanted to apologize and prove she cared about Emma. I then asked if she truly felt remorse. That's when I completely lost my patience. Instead of taking full responsibility, Chloe started telling me Emma's marriage had already been falling apart, that Emma and her husband had been drifting apart for years, and that he often confided in her. She admitted the affair was wrong, but repeatedly tried to place part of the blame on Emma, saying if their marriage had been happier none of this would have happened. I was furious. I honestly couldn't believe I had raised someone capable of thinking like that. I told her there is no marriage bad enough to justify secretly sleeping with your own sister's husband for 4 years. I told her I wasn't just disappointed, I was ashamed that she was my daughter. The more she tried to justify herself, the angrier I became. The conversation eventually turned to her own divorce. She talked about how difficult everything had been for her and how her husband still plans to move to Washington with their son to be closer to his family. She said she may have to move there too if she wants to stay close to him. As she spoke, I realized almost everything was about what she had lost: her marriage, her home, her reputation, and possibly seeing her son every day. Very little of it was about Emma or the damage she'd caused. At the end of the conversation, Chloe asked if we were cool now. I told her no. We were not cool, and we might never be. I said that if I ever found it in my heart to reconcile with her, it would be on my terms and in my own time. Not because she thought one conversation could erase 4 years of lies and betrayal. I walked out feeling angrier than when I arrived. I honestly don't know what to do anymore. I love both of my daughters, but after that conversation, I'm not convinced Chloe truly understands the pain she's caused. Commenter 1. Why does the other woman always believe that my marriage is falling apart and I'm not actually close to my wife? Bullshit. Every single time. We all know this man would have happily remained in his marriage with his side chick's sister-in-law forever if Emma didn't find him out. Hell, he's probably begging Emma in texts to give him another chance, and that Chloe means nothing to him. Tale as old as time, but the women keep falling for it. Baffling. The original poster. I'm pretty sure there might be a final part 3. I'm not sure how many parts one can keep making before Reddit says otherwise. Emma and her husband did have some problems, but they were mostly, if not always, minor and nothing serious. I am still trying to process how it was going on for 4 years without anyone knowing. Commenter 2. I read the first post, and I still am confused at why Emma's husband's behavior changed all of a sudden if it was going on for 4 years. Why did he suddenly become cagey, defensive, and hiding his phone if it's been going on for the last 4 years? The original poster, because Emma was all of a sudden curious and had a feeling he was cheating on her. I think he sensed that and didn't want the secret to be found. Commenter 3. Chloe and Em's husband are still seeing each other and are now free to be together. Why did they stay in their marriages if they were so unhappy? The original poster. Chloe told me that her and Emma's husband haven't talked since. She texted him, but he never responded. Commenter 4. Not the a-hole. Chloe honestly sounds like a narcissist. I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but I think it fits here. Think about it if you think I'm overreacting. In order to be able to cheat, you'll have to put your empathy to your partner and others who might be affected by it aside and let your ego win. Chloe had to do this multiple times for 4 years. Who knows how many times they cheated? It could be over 100 times, and Chloe had to put aside everyone's feelings in favor of her own. Her victims were husband, sister, son, nieces/nephews, and mother. All of those are people she's supposed to love the most. The fact that she was able to do this over and over again to people she claims to love is honestly deeply disturbing. And then for her to only care about herself afterwards. Again, I think she's a narcissist. I do not think she truly has empathy. I think she can fake it, and I think she has done that all the time, but I don't think she actually has it. Maybe she thinks she does. She doesn't seem to feel guilt and remorse. She sounds incredibly entitled, and also delusional since she can't accept the fact that her relationship with her sister is over for good, and that your relationship to her will be forever affected in some type of way. She decided to break her sister's boundaries by showing up to her kid's school. Sorry, I think you just saw who your daughter actually is deep down. I would honestly be a bit scared of my child if they did this out of the blue. It would make me question what went wrong and what else they have done that I don't know about. But I'm also very scared of narcissists, or just very selfish people in general. Those types of people can really do damage to you that lasts a lifetime. Thankfully, I've never had any experience with these people, but my God, they seem terrifying. What was her father like? Sorry, if this is too personal. You don't have to answer. I'm just trying to figure out where she might get it from. I'm a little worried that your family is going to easy on her. I hope they aren't trying to guilt or shame Emma for not wanting to have anything to do with Chloe. The original poster. My husband passed about 7 years ago, but when he was alive, he did give Chloe special treatment because she was the baby of the family. I treated both my daughters equally, and we often had fights about Chloe due to unfairness and etc. He would do things like make Emma share what was supposed to be hers and give half to Chloe. Give Chloe bigger or better items because he didn't want to upset her. We did divorce later on due to something else unrelated, but that did play a huge part. I did try my best to be fair to both my kids, and I genuinely think I was. I'm not trying to blame my late husband here. I'm just saying what he was like. Update 2. I said after my last update that I'd come back one last time once things had settled down a bit, so this will be my final post. First, thank you to everyone who commented on my last 2 posts. I read and replied to more comments than I expected. Some of them were difficult to read, but they gave me a lot to think about. To answer the question I saw the most, Chloe's son is definitely her husband's. Chloe is white, her husband is black, and their son is mixed race, so there was never any question about that. The divorces are still going ahead. Nothing has been finalized yet, but neither couple is trying to work things out anymore. A lot of people also asked about my sisters. Yes, they knew about the affair before Emma found out. They admitted they stayed quiet because they thought it was a family matter and hoped it would end before anyone got hurt. I understand why they thought that, but I can't agree with it. Emma spent years being lied to while people around her knew the truth. I've decided to cut both of my sisters out of my life. I don't know if that will be forever, but they have broken my trust. Over the last few weeks, I've spoken to both of my daughters separately. I asked Emma if enough time had passed for her to even think about talking to Chloe. She said no. She told me she isn't waking up angry anymore, but that doesn't mean she's forgiven her. She said she accepted that the truth was always going to come out eventually. The only thing she could control was what she did after she found out. She also said she has no interest in having a sister anymore. As for her husband, she told me she's made one thing very clear. She'll only respond if it's about the children or the divorce. Everything else gets ignored. What surprised me was that he hasn't stopped trying. He's sent long apology messages, videos about forgiveness, and even Bible verses. None of us are religious, so that confused all of us. He keeps saying she was the only woman he's ever loved, and that he made one terrible mistake. Emma hasn't replied to any of those messages. I also found out something Chloe never told me. In my last update, I said Chloe told me the only message Emma sent before blocking her was that she was no longer her sister. That wasn't true. Emma later showed me the messages. Before Emma sent that final text, Chloe had blamed her for what happened. She told Emma that maybe if she'd paid more attention to her marriage, things would have been different. She also said that if her husband had felt happier at home, he wouldn't have looked somewhere else. Reading those messages made me feel sick. When I confronted Chloe, she admitted she'd sent them. She said she was angry, desperate, and trying to make herself feel less guilty. She told me she regretted sending them almost immediately, but by then Emma had already blocked her. Chloe also told me she's moving to Washington once everything is finalized so she can stay close to her son, but in Florida, they allow divorced families to stay, so I don't know why his father is planning to move there to be closer to his family, and Chloe doesn't want to be too far away from her child. She admitted she tried contacting Emma's husband after everything came out, but he never answered any of her messages. She eventually stopped trying. She also told me she knows she'll never get her old life back, but she hopes moving will give her a chance to start over. I told her that starting over doesn't erase what happened. She agreed. A lot of people asked if I've forgiven Chloe. I haven't. I still love her because she's my daughter, but I don't trust her anymore, and right now we don't have a relationship. Maybe that changes one day. Maybe it doesn't. I honestly don't know. This whole situation has changed our family forever. Emma lost her husband and her sister. Chloe lost her marriage, her relationship with her sister, and most of her family. My sisters lost me because they chose to stay quiet. This will be my last update. I hope one day all of us can find some peace, even if we never become a family again. If I missed out some details, I will respond in the comments. Thank you, Reddit.